that we made was that we weren't going to reverse the cuts of the previous government, and also that we gave a commitment to continue along the path with the EU, IMF, Fianna Fail Green Plan in relation to reducing the deficit to 3%, and that means to 8% in this year's budget, which works out at about 3.6 billion removal or reduction. And there's some differences in terms of how we achieve that between cuts and tax increases, and obviously we'll know more in the next period of time.
Well, I mean, we're servants of the people, as the lad says, and we need to ensure that we know exactly what's going on in our constituencies and what people feel, and obviously I view these sort of things as a lobbying session, if you like, to get it out there what the important issues the students face. Obviously you have different questions and you have different reactions and whatever else.
And we need to focus more between the universities and those companies, the American multinationals, that are actually providing employment. And I think there is a certain gap between what's needed and what's required. So I know that we've met with your president here in relation to that.
I think just the title of this was the post-election debate, and I think the first thing what struck me when I said what we would talk about would be the election result, and it's quite mathematical. Fine Gael won the election. They won 76 seats. Labour did well. We increased our seats by 19 seats, but still we only have 37 seats. But
I think they're very important. I don't think politics can just be an election one year and then 5 years later another election. There has to be constant interaction between the public representatives and the people who represent them. Now, that happens a lot at clinics level, just going out meeting people. But I think it's important to come and meet the student body in particular, who have always been such a radical and pushing force in Irish politics. That it's great to come in and talk to them, even if they give you a hard time from time to time.
But what does that tell us about the Dáil arithmetic? It tells us that 2/3 of the seats in Dáil Éireann, and over 100 seats, are held by people who have conservative politics, who have politics that is very much old-fashioned, that wasn't changed, didn't challenge the old concepts of solidarity or social justice. I'll give you an example of it. I could feel the election changing in favour of the Fine Gael party before the election. Politicians, one thing we could criticise for is when being out of touch. I'll tell you, there is no one more in touch in this room than the three of us at the front. We meet so many people every week who tell us their stories, their heartfelt stories, their hardships. We're very much in touch.
The government strategy for recovery is twofold. First of all, is to try and stimulate the indigenous economy, to grow the domestic economy. That's primarily going to be achieved through exports and through growth in tourist numbers and the tourism industry and the agri-food industry. And I suppose the main focus the government has at the moment, and everything that we do is driven by this, and that is to rid the country of the Troika, the IMF, the EU, and their the ECB, and that's the plan at the moment. So everything that, as I say, that we do is geared towards achieving that.
I think it's very important that we have an opportunity like this to listen to the concerns of our constituents, and obviously the students of NUIG are big numbers, and it's important that we hear at first hand, especially this close to the budget, what their concerns are, so that we're in a position to communicate that to the relevant departments to ensure that the concerns that you have are addressed in the budgetary process. So we're been very clear to us tonight what the views are and the fear there in terms of the reintroduction of student fees.
I'm developing at the moment policies in relation to renewable energy, and I have a group working with me of experts in the field, broadband, and also on the whole issue of broadcasting, because as spokesperson they're very relevant to my particular responsibilities.
But it is important that we do debate issues. One of the problems I think in our society, however, is that there are trite, superficial views taken on things without people examining the deeper facts behind them. And when you challenge people to get into depth, into facts, sometimes I'm told that such and such has happened somewhere. I ask for the basic documentation to prove it, then I suddenly find I can't get it. So I think we have to have realistic debate. I think debate is good, but debate is only good when people come with an open mind and are willing to base their arguments on facts.
And as well as that, I'm organising a conference focused on areas of severe disadvantage, because disadvantage takes two forms. It is individual disadvantage, But in a lot of cases, as sociologists point out, it's also exacerbated by the neighbourhood effect, i.e. that, for example, a child who grows up in certain areas in this country needn't worry about free university fees in the main, because they're very unlikely ever to get the opportunity to go to university, and that is one of the great scandals and one of the great challenges that we face, to deal with the issue of those areas where the chances of getting a third level are very low, not because of fees, because they'd be entitled to grants, but because they will probably have left school long before they ever get that far.
In February, just before the general election, Rory Quinn, on behalf of the Labour Party, signed a pledge publicly and with full knowledge of the public accounts just before coming into office, that the Labour Party, you know the question already, that the Labour Party would not sign up to an increase in the €2,000 student fee and would not support a decrease in the student grant. I just want to know, will Deputy Nolan support that pledge? How will he vote if it comes before the Dáil? How will he vote on student grants and on that €2,000 charge?
Now, when it comes down to budget day, are you actually going to vote it? Because you actually opposed the last budget, do you remember, where there was an increase in registration fees. It's 500 million that is has to be adhered to in the education budget, and I accept that. And why the hell did you give 700 million to unused bondholders last week?
I can understand people's anger. First of all, there's been no decision made on student fees. There's been nothing said, except that there is a view undertaken of how third level is to be funded. We did make, and I'm not going to lie, we did make a pledge not to increase the student charge. Rory Quinn signed it. Fine Gael made a pledge in the election that they would introduce a graduate tax. We had 6 days in which to form a programme for government, of which 4 days was spent on economic matters. Some things couldn't be agreed. One of them was third level funding. So it was agreed that we would look at it and review it and come together with an agreed plan at the end of the year.
So the programme for government that has been agreed isn't necessarily the Fine Gael manifesto, and it's not the Labour Party manifesto. There has to be give and take and compromise on both sides. So that's why perhaps certain things were said in advance of elections that weren't carried through, because simply we didn't get the mandate from the people to carry that on our own as a single party government. But I have no information to suggest that there's going to be a reintroduction of student fees. I am opposed to it. How will I vote on it? I will vote in accordance with the mandate that we got, and the very clear mandate that Fine Gael got and that Labour got was to sort out the mess that we inherited. If that involves cuts, unfortunately we have to vote. But I'll be voting for the budget members introduced. I don't expect it to include a reintroduction of student fees, but if there is an increase in student fees or registration charges, unfortunately, I will vote for it, because that's what I was elected to do. I was elected to.
Nonsense! Outright nonsense!
We have a very, very clear mandate to sort out this country for the future.
Budget, I have no doubt, within these four walls, there could be cost savings, whether it be on salaries and cutbacks and expenses with some of the staff as well, and that hopefully can be looked at. Again, in relation to what to vote for, we're awaiting, and will be my first budget as a TD. It's new to me, it's new to a lot of the ministers. We'll have internal budget discussions within the Fine Gael party, particularly in those departments where we have Fine Gael ministers. I suppose I'm most familiar with agriculture and the cutbacks that are required there, and they're extremely difficult, so there's no doubt about it. They're extremely difficult. The minister's under pressure to come up with savings to try and maintain and encourage economic growth, at the same time abiding by the requirements to cut our budgets.
It is common that in upcoming to any budget that it is often leaked to what you may do just to gauge the public's reaction. We have seen in many newspapers what you may or may not do. It is clear that if you do decide to bring in fees, that a loan system will not be used because it's unsustainable. Australia is one example, and you need the money now. A graduate tax is likewise. It'll be many years. Trust me, I'm doing a PhD. It'll be many years before you get any tax off me. So to say that it's premature, I just do not accept it. You've had to have some discussions, and if you haven't, quite frankly, I'd be appalled.
Derek Nolan, I spoke with you in this very room last February, and again in GMIT, and you made it very clear to me that if the students of Galway West voted for you, that you would fight against fees. And if you are refusing to sign the proposal put before you, that to vote against your party, should your party decide to reintroduce fees, That's absolutely disgusting. You have lied to my face. Lied to my face, and the words that you gave me went up on a poster around this university and around GMIT, and hundreds, if not thousands, of students would have seen that, and that would have influenced their vote. Your mandate comes from the people in your constituency who vote for you, not from your party.
What I said was that those that are very high income, in my view, could make a contribution to make sure that those who don't get in this door, get in this door. And in fact, one of the reasons I criticised Labour and Fine Gael to get rid of the fees in total was what I would have loved to see happen at that time is that the maintenance grant and the level of the maintenance grant would have been increased so that those at the bottom end who aren't getting in here, because you always have a finite amount of money in government, would get in this door and not be excluded. Because what you will find when you look at all of the survey is the people from the top end, they get in here anyway. It's the people at the bottom end who don't get in the door here.
Did Labour make the case historically in that government for free fees? We did. And were we proud? Were we proud? In the government in between
had nothing to do with you.
Beg your pardon?
Stop trying to claim victories that had nothing to do with you. You had nothing to do with that. You weren't there.
Did Labour? I said. I didn't say that. Labour. Labour was the government.
We're here to talk to you and to ask you questions, not your party.
I beg your pardon. I was asked by that lady, was I proud of the record of Labour in government? And I'm answering that question. If you're not listening to other people, I don't care. But there's a bit of manners when I'm speaking and replying to people. I'll ask in answer to your I was very proud of that achievement in government. Did Rory Quinn make a pledge before the election? He did. Is it in the programme for government? It's not. Am I proud of that? No, I'm not. Did I do everything I could within the Labour Party to speak to Rory Quinn, seek meetings with him, meet the union representatives, bring them into meeting? I did, and I made the case as best I could. What will happen in December? I don't know. The judgment will be there in the party, and that's what I'll have to go. Am I happy with that? Would I like to have a veto? Would I like to have a carte blanche? I do. If I voted against the budget, would it stop anything? No, it wouldn't. Have I broken my word to yourself? I did what I was faithful at the time. I did what I was told was the Labour Party policy, and I have campaigned in good faith. And I apologise if that is what happens, but I have no reason to believe at the moment that's not going to happen. And that's the answer.
The deal with the party is that unless you can muster half the Dáil, you can't get anything done. It's as simple as that. And yes, of course, within parties, you fight your corner and you win some and lose some. But the day you win, you're happy that those that lost have to then back your proposition to make the change. So you could have it all independent, and some people think it would work very well that way. My view is, if you had a Dáil of 166 independents, you would never bring any change about, because everybody would be able to run for cover all the time and there'd be no hard decisions made.
See, the problem is that we're living in, well, the cliche goes, such a difficult economic situation. It's a case of you can't often get all the political parties in the same room together. It's very difficult to get all of your representatives into the one place that isn't the Dáil and actually get them to sit there and take your questions. We had a bit of controversy today, not too much, it went well. And it'd be good to have a few more events like this, because I know that it just isn't happening enough on campus.
I think this was a means whereby people could come along, share their views, get a real answer. None of this emailing and texting and Facebook and this was real stuff. This was real answers from real TDs, and that's why I think it was so important.